So today we saw the footage. We saw the footage of what happened in Akron, Ohio this week with Jayland Walker, a 25-year-old black man, with 8 other officers. Trying times. Before today, we were just going off of opinions and, you know, what we looked at as how white officers or just police officers in general treat the black man. If for you all that did not see this footage, I'm not going to post it because it's kind of like floating around. I kind of took it off of YouTube and stuff. But Jayland Walker was fleeing the cops, and they showed in the video that a gun, you saw the muzzle from the gun flash on the freeway. And end result is that he was chased by 8 officers outside of the vehicle when he finally stopped. And they shot Jayland Walker 60 times.
And they let off 90 shots.
Man. Yeah. Like, you know, sad situation. Prayers for his family. It was a rough situation for me to hear on social media. And also just things I went over in our city out here in Columbus. What's your thoughts on that, Demetrius?
I just, it's hard. It's one of those things we constantly keep talking about it over and over again, and like it's one of those things where we got understanding that it's not ever going to go away type thing. We have hope for it, but with that being said, just like with having the video, one shot, when does one shot warrant 90 shots? And then even looking at the video, the one that was going around, you see the cops instantly, like they're coming up on the car. And then you can hear the cop saying, "Oh, that motherfucker." Like, you hear those words. There's no understanding with that type of person. There's not. I thought, well, I've never thought, but cops are supposed to be there to protect, they say. There was no really protection going on there.
Yeah, and like what I looked at it, because like with us being civilians, we're under a different code. You know, when it comes to police officers, and this is just because I've talked to police officers before, their level of training is a lot different from how civilians on the outside look at things. Yeah. So they're trained to eliminate the threat. And what that does mean is that to empty out your clip when you see something as a threat. Sadly, what happened was 8 officers eliminated the threat. So where we have 60 bullets, I think for like, you know, the viewers that did see the video, like I said, it may still be up, it may not be up. But when we watched the video, and I actually watched it before we, shot this episode today, they say that they were chasing him because of I think it was a traffic infraction or something like that.
Traffic violation or something like that. And which they never really said what the violation was. But,
you know, at the end of the day, it don't even really matter what it is, because when we kind of just like break it down, we know if the cops is there, we pull over to the side, wait to see what happens, figure out a reason why I'm pulled over. Yeah. What they did say is that they tried to pull over to the side in the beginning, but he decided to flee. And then what they did is that they caught freeway cameras seeing the muzzle flash, because like if you watch the video, you hear a pop. Yeah. Like for me being a gun carrier, and so I know what a pop is. There's a bullet out there. Yes. Unfortunately, what happens is that, and like I said, we don't personally know what's going on in those officers' minds. But if you hear guns fire, and luckily it was just one, right? Yeah. But when he's on the radio and he's telling other officers about what's transpiring, you know, they live by code. They live by blue. Yeah. So for sure, when it pulls over, and then, you know, essentially, and it's just like as a civilian, if you that person that busts and somebody shoot at you, you're gonna bust back. It's just something that's gonna happen, right? Yeah. But what is sad is that before we see the footage, we look at it like, oh, another black man was killed by a white officer. Yeah. For me, and I'm not going to say that the officers' actions were justified, or the officers, because there were 8, that they were justified. However, we must take accountability on what we saw on that footage. we saw one thing, the man is not unarmed. So with him not being unarmed, and we've seen from footage that he fired at the officer. Now he has become a threat. He's fled the scene. He's became a threat. And when he finally stops, we also see in the video when he leaves from out the passenger side and he runs. And then there's that moment, that brief moment when he turns around. So essentially, you know, and this is just in regular life, like where you're like, it's my life or his life. You know what I mean? And it's just a very unfortunate situation. And one thing I did want to talk about before we pivot to another tragic, you know, it was just a tragic week around the country of stuff for black people. But like, I just don't understand the whole, we protest Black Lives Matter. We protest white cops stop shooting us. But we don't even treat ourselves that way in our own community. You know what I'm saying? Like, we live in Columbus, and nowadays, like, it's like Columbus is like kind of like on the leaderboard of homicides when it comes to black people.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But you won't see us like, rather it's Crips and Bloods or rather it's just like just black people in general killing each other. We don't riot. We don't protest. We don't go into the neighborhoods and protest and running, you know, walking around with signs and
you put up a teddy
banners,
bear,
you know what I'm saying?
And they just put them memorials.
And it's sad because it's like, and I've noticed it, like me being a black man, and you know, I'm lucky to make it to the age of 27 because we see, like, you know, we see mothers and their babies, like, they falling at 25 and younger. You know, we just saw a couple weeks ago when I think she was like 16, 15 years old. She got killed at the pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then how we look at it, it's just a tragic situation. But in our head, we more so look at it like, well, at least it wasn't me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like we desensitized to it when it's our own in a way, and then when it's in the other hands of the blue, then it becomes a more uproar. But like, why is it so okay for our own to do it?
Right.
And there's a lot of people that will argue that, and I understand, like, there's a lot of people that would be like, well, they have a certain type of job and all that stuff, but like you said, where's the accountability in ourselves? Because there's a lot of people that they know what's going on in the neighborhoods and all that stuff. Not saying that you have to be the one person to cause the uproar or anything like that, but to even try to have some type of community, there's a lot of against each other.
Yeah. And you know, I was talking about that in the shop, and I was just like, I said, like, and it's just so weird because it's like with black people, man, like we just have this division amongst each other.
Yeah.
And with that division and that hate and that anger, we decide to pour it out into each other. There's no helping. I had a conversation, you know, I was on a date this week, and I was more so like, I heard a response that kind of made me think like, that's how a lot of us think. And it was more so like, it kind of came off like, that's not my business. You know what I'm saying? The fact it didn't happen to me, that's not my business. Why should I be concerned? I need to mind my own business and worry about my own self. You know, one thing I tell people all the time is that we live in a world where we live once. So impact is everything. So why not try to impact people on being better humans? First, it starts with you. You know, you have to train yourself in order to be the better self, achieve the best self that you can while you're here on this earth. But why not pour into others? Like, is it because like it's not none of my concern? I just more so look at that like as a selfish thing. I don't think that people can grow as a unity because we're all one people at the end of the day. We may have a different skin color, we may have a different gender, you know, whether you're male, female, transgender, whatever, however you identify yourself, we're still one people. So why don't we spend time actually helping one another? Because wouldn't you think that if we're one people and I help this person, it's a trickle effect. The fact that I help this black person, they gonna pour it into somebody else. Yeah. You know what I mean? Somebody gotta be the spark.
It's scientifically proven for that way. It's like when they say who you around, that's who you act like the most.
Yep.
So having that, like, that's what I try to do is change up my circle a little bit to get more people that were doing the right thing. Not so much the right thing, but in the same life path that I'm going. Like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to hang around more entrepreneurs, because then you can learn in that way. And then, like you said, now branching off, 9 times out of 10, most of these people are trying to pour love into other people to help guide other people, because it always takes a village, no matter what.
Yeah, because like, you know, and I looked at it like as I got older, you know, and this is probably back for our parents, because our parents probably dealt with the same shit. You know what I'm saying? When it just comes to, I lost my best friend in the high school. I lost, you know, to drugs or a shootout or a drive-by. But it's like, damn, like that's 20 years removed. Like, you know, because a lot of people have people have children in like early teens and early 20s and stuff. So it's like, damn, that's 20 years removed, and there's still no change. Yeah. But then what we choose to do is we want to raise the conversation and the awareness towards white people and other people that don't look like us, even towards the police and the government. And we're asking them for change, but we're not spending time with what can we do in community? Like, what do I have to do to be an impact on you? What do I have to do to be an impact on the kids out here? Because like in our city, like, you know, we dealing with kids, like, you know what I'm saying? We dealing with kids that got guns. Yeah. And it's like, it's a
whole different.
There's no remorse, you know what I'm saying? Like, you telling me that we can't, and I had this conversation. I said, the sad thing is that I think black people's biggest struggle is that we lack communicating. We always resort to the end result. And a lot of times the end result is putting someone 6 feet under. Yeah. You know, like that's just, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing.
It's dog eat dog type situation.
Absolutely.
Always. And it what's that saying? Like, it's not really saying, but they talk about the crabs in a barrel where one's trying to get out and they pull the other one down. I feel like there's a lot of animosity within our own community where there's a lot of jealousy just because somebody's trying to do something. Or like we talked about like how certain people was upset if you had a dad and it's not your fault.
It's not my fault that my dad wanted to be here.
Yeah, but but that festers a lot of stuff, not so much self-hate, but some type of I can't even think of the word that I'm looking for that can best describe it, but it's something about yourself that you got to look inside yourself to figure out where does that come from, because it's not the other person's problem. Like my stepdaughter today came to me, and this funniest thing, we was doing belly rolls. But she could just suck in her stomach, and I was like, well, I got one better.
Oh yeah, belly rolls. I had to think about it.
Yeah, so then she came to me and she was like, that's unfair. And that's like, you don't use that word, because I'm like, what is unfair? Why is it unfair that I'm able to do something that you can't do? I'm not trying to show off. It's just something that I'm able to do, but you're using the word unfair, which means now you're creating a feeling in you where now you're having that jealousy against me when it's not even my fault. You just have to work at it. And I'm here to help you, but now if we're going to have a struggle where you keep using the unfair and you're creating a jealousy, now I can't help you, because that's something with you where you're not willing to receive it in a way.